You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we bring every story by A-Z.
Carry on my wayward son. Don't you cry no more. I'm Adam.
I don't know why we're talking about Kansas. I'm Zack. Adam, why are you talking about the song "Carry On My Wayward Son"?
Well, I
don't know what the reference is here.
Well, I was remembering last week which was 5 minutes ago for us, when you told us to, carry on through the week.
Love this energy.
This week we are talking about Mike Carey. That's right.
So here's the thing that people don't understand this, including like friends of ours don't fully understand this about the podcast. And I'm sure it's different for you, Adam, because you edit this.
It's true.
But on occasion, someone will mention something that I said on the podcast. And I will have to very politely say to them, I believe you that I said that. And I know that you wouldn't lie to me because it's recorded. I have no recollection of it. And if you want to know how true that is that Adam's not joking. 5 minutes ago, I made that joke. And I didn't remember that I did because I had walked out of my office to get a drink of water.
Amazing. I love that short attention span, buddy. But yes, we are talking about Mike Carey X-Men stories this week, Zack. And who do we have to thank for this?
Mike Carey. We have Mike Carey. M.R. Carey, if you're a novelist. We have Extremely Uncanny to thank for this one. Patreon supporter Extremely Uncanny. You know what they did? They went over to patreon.com/Battle of the Atom, reached deep down into their hearts and pocketbooks, tossed a couple of coins into our coppers. Here's the thing about our podcast. It's 100% listener supported. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. It means that you don't hear ads on here. Why you don't hear ads on? Because no one wants to advertise on the third most popular X-Men podcast. But beyond that, it's because we're from viewers like you.
And thank you for that. And if you want to be like Extremely Uncanny, give us $5. We'll make an episode for you.
Give us $5. It's so simple. Who are you going to have more fun with $5? You know how many things cost more than $5 these days? Here's $5 and you get to hear us for an hour make jokes and goofs that are, let's be honest, getting extremely obscure and self-referential.
They're just carrying you through the week. That's what we're here for. We're starting your week off on Monday with some good stuff. So
Adam, I've talked about on this podcast before how Mike Carey was the first creator I ever actually interviewed, and I did such a bad job that I refused to listen to it.
Well, you have mentioned this before, but I don't think you should feel bad. You have to practice. You have to start somewhere, and that's okay.
I am so... Part of me wants to go back and listen to it, and the other part of me would rather die.
Okay, well, let's not do that other part.
Not that other part. I don't know if that interview is still extant anymore, because this was before we had this whole setup. So it existed in audio form only, because have you guys ever tried to transcribe something? It's bad. Do you know how bad voice recognition stuff was 8 years ago?
Not as good. That is for sure. But yeah, we have to start somewhere, Zack, and we are going to start with a story that doesn't begin in X-Men Legacy, but yet begins in X-Men Legacy Annual #1, written by Mike Carey and penciled and inked and colored by that artist that we messed up their name last week. We're not going to mess it up today. It's Daniel. Okay, you. I was trying to cover
me.
For you.
Thank you.
Daniel Acuna.
So the cover of X-Men Legacy Annual #1 promises a bold new direction.
A bold claim when the story is a 4-issue arc about M-Plate.
Yeah, I'm gonna say straight up,
Yeah.
not what I would call a bold new direction. I would actually call this kind of just the general next steps that you would expect from this story to take for like X-Men Legacy. It's the obvious next step of, well, Rogue's on Utopia, now back with the X-Men now. I wonder what that means.
That is true. That is kind of where we're going here. This is Mike Carey returning Rogue to the X-Men. They are now on Utopia.
They
Off
have
the coast
just
of...
gotten onto Utopia, by the way.
Yeah, they're like building it. It's new.
Yeah.
So those are the two new things. And then the old thing is M-Plate is back. And, being that he doesn't have a penance to munch on, for folks who don't remember M-Plate, he's the villain from Generation X #1 who had penance trapped in his like ghost house and like chewed on her diamond form for ages. So he needs a new diamond person to chew on. So he abducts Bling.
When we say penance, we of course mean Monet St. Croix,
Yes.
who was not the Monet St. Croix of the original Generation X. That was her two twin little sisters in a trench coat.
Two kids in a trench coat.
I mean, freaking, it's just... I've been, obviously, because this was an M-Plate episode, I've been thinking a lot about the two kids in a trench coat thing and how penance worked. And that is the road to madness.
Didn't really work. I mean, it sure was an explanation, but I don't think that ever made sense.
Larry Hama, again, many hits, many misses.
Tried.
He's swinging at everything, and that's what you gotta... We're still talking about it. It's provocative.
Now, because M-Plate is out of sync with our reality in the 616, we do need
Sync's a different Generation X character. You're getting it confused, Adam.
We do need a way to get to M-Plate to save Bling. And to do that, we are going to need the help of a mutant who can give us a little bit of hope. That's right. We need a hope, Zach, but not the hope people are thinking of. This is Hope Abbott. Trance.
Yeah, we're talking about Trance. You know Trance, right, Adam? You tell me 3 things about Trance. Can you do 3 things about Trance, who has appeared in 77 X-Men comics that I think you've probably read nearly all of?
I'm going to say that Trance has the ability to project an astral form of herself outside of her body. So I know that's her power. And other than that, I don't really remember much about Trance. Sorry.
It's okay. That's fine. There's nothing to think about Trance.
It's just very funny to go back to like a Utopia era X-Men story and have them talk about needing Hope's help. And it's like not Hope. It's just funny.
What Mike Carey starts to do in this chunk of X-Men Legacy is he does do a little bit to try and build up some of the teens. Like he does a story that we've covered with Julian Keller. He does some stuff with Indra.
Yep.
He does try and make these more of actual characters. And I would say in general, this is probably the beginning of the end of Mike Carey's run for me. Like this is when he starts to lose me a bit.
I think that's fair. I like what he's doing in terms of trying to build the community of the island. The majority of this story, however, is about M-Plate, and M-Plate is a Chris Bachalo drawing. I don't know if he's much of a character. I will say I was very happy with what I saw in terms of the way that Acuna draws both M-Plate and his little freaky Chris Bachalo sidekick DOA.
The weird little freak that M-Plate hangs out with?
Yes, because To save Bling, Rogue, who has just joined the X-Men, but his role is a little unclear, a little clash with Cyclops about things. Cyclops kind of wants to make her into a guidance counselor. It's a little odd. He absorbs Trance's powers, becomes a ghost essentially, and is able to help steer M-Plate's house back to Utopia. In the meantime, I did love there's some good X Club content here with Box and Dr. Nemesis, who basically say that they can rewrite the laws of physics in about 30 minutes. That was a good punchline.
Love that. Love that for them. This is the first time that M-Plate has appeared since Generation X.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I get they try to bring him back. They don't do anything with him.
they just defeat him and send him away, and that's pretty much it.
So I'd say the story is a little light. I think Bling actually gets some pretty good character moments here, where she fights against M-Plate. She overshares something from her childhood that she thinks is normal, but is actually horrifying and traumatic. And whom amongst us hasn't had that experience? I guess the folks with good childhoods. But beyond them, like that was. There's moments that I enjoy. What I think is a bit of a challenge, especially with the annual, and it gets better with the other 3 issues, is some of Acuña's art. And I love Daniel Acuña, but he's rough in that annual specifically.
Oh, really?
I read it like today, and I was sitting there like, this is
okay.
To me, it was more challenging than it really should have been or normally is, because he's a phenomenal artist, but it felt like maybe he was a little rushed. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what the deal is, but it was not reaching the heights that he would have even a few years later when he starts doing like Avengers with Hickman.
I don't think it's quite up there yet, but I did think it was really well done, especially given that he's doing all the art. And especially once you get into once you get into the individual issues and we've got this floating ghost house. Acuña does a pretty nice job with it.
Once he gets to do that he thrives a bit more when he gets to be more surreal. But like that first issue where they're on Utopia, there's a panel and Ernst is there, and mostly I'm thinking, oh, Ernst is there, so I have to think about Ernst at all times. I love Ernst.
Yeah.
Ernst looks wacky and wild by
but I think that's kind of on purpose. I mean, Gentle is also in that panel. Like there's
a lot of I think there's a lot of anatomy questions there that feel like I'm filling space on this page and I'll come back to it when I have more time.
Sure.
And never got more time because it's comics.
And that's understandable. Carey is asking Acuña to draw a lot of cast members as part of that annual. It gets dramatically reduced as we get into the core story, but especially as they're building houses and skyscrapers or whatever it is, there's like 15 people in a panel. That's a lot to ask of any artist. So I thought this was a good story, but I can't say that I'm a big M-Plate fan. I think if you're a Bling fan, you might really like this arc, and there's some beautiful art and some of it from Acuña, but it's kind of just okay.
Yeah, I don't dislike M-Plate, but I like M-Plate because I have good memories of Chris Picciolo drawing him, and not because he's an interesting character. I think he can be a cool design. Like, say what you will about that Cullen Bunn Uncanny run, but Ken Lashley drawing M-Plate, that ruled.
Yeah.
I thought that was killer. Like, you get the right artist on it. It's great. In fact, like, there was this is kind of interesting, I guess, but recently, Adam, I'm sure you are reading the current Avengers Academy book.
I am not,
the digital comic.
I've heard it's good though. And it has Moon Girl in it, so I should be checking.
It does have Moon Girl. It has Escapade from the Krakoa post Vita Ayala New Mutants. So it has some stuff that is of interest. But all I was saying is M-Plates was in a arc of that earlier this year, and The best parts of that is when they let the artists go freaking wild. They had a couple of different artists on that, so I don't want to just call out. Mostly Karen Dabor was the primary artist
Mhm.
on that, but going buck wild on M-Plate and the general world that M-Plate exists in, and that's fun. But do you know what else is
Yeah.
fun, Adam?
Our big old list, Zach.
That's right. And do you know how many stories, Adam, we have on said big old list?
Oh my God, it's like almost 1,000, Zach. It's crazy.
On that road, buddy. We have almost 1,000 comics on there. In fact, we are at 987. And how we've ranked these, by the way, this is interesting. I don't think anyone's ever done this before, but we're actually ranking them from best to worst.
Unheard of.
Yeah. So at number 1 is the best X-Men comics of all time, The House of X Powers of 10. At number 400, we'll jump at this level now. 400 is Bizarre Adventures 27.
Yeah, it's still a pretty good comic.
Jean Grey turns into a dolphin on that one.
That is
number
true.
800 is Ultimate X-Men Cable. That's the comic where Cable's Wolverine. And the worst X-Men comic of all time is 987. That's 2099, The World of Tomorrow.
Zach, at 701, we have Generation M. Better or worse than Generation M?
Which one's Generation M? Is that the anthology? The Paul Jenkins anthology?
Think so.
Yeah, this is better than that. That book sucks.
All right, so we're in the 600s.
Man, Bud, you ever think about, like, maybe sometimes we rank comics and you're like, why did we do that? Oh, wait, that's 700? No, that's probably the right spot, actually. That's probably exactly where it needs to be. Do we have more legacy on here? I know we have some legacy on here.
Well, at 600, we have Lightning Comics Volume 1, Number 6, the first appearance of Dr. Nemesis.
Not as good.
I don't think it's as good as that. So we're in the 600s. I know you don't think it's as good as... do you think it's better or worse than Deadly Genesis at 608?
Oh, this is better than Deadly Genesis. I'll give it above Deadly Genesis.
I was going to say, I would put it ahead of Extreme X-Men Expose, but
wrong, but that's fine.
Oh, well,
no,
then
you're
great.
right. You're right. No, you're right. You're right. I would say I just like thinking of Extreme X-Men Expose, a comic about NPR reporters.
I mean, this is slightly better than it has that Acuna art, but I don't think it's probably better than these batches of Uncanny we have here.
No, it's not.
At 606, we have 262 to 263. At 605, we have 215 to 216, the Old Soldiers. I mean, this is probably not as good as either of those. This could be our new 607.
Yeah, I'm good with making it our new 607. Which one's 266 and 263? Oh, that's that 4. Oh, that's where Jean Grey gets tentacle arms. Yes, this is exactly as good as Jean Grey getting tentacle arms.
Yeah, we're about there.
Not for joke purposes. For joke purposes, Jean Grey getting tentacle arms is better.
Yes. All right. So we are going to go to key Mike Carey right now. This is like peak. Everybody loves this era of Mike Carey, the Supernovas era, but this is an arc we have not covered yet so far. This is Primary Infection, which is X-Men Volume 2, 194 to 196, illustrated by Humberto Ramos, inks by Carlos Cuevas, and colors by Edgar Delgado. How have we missed this one? We've done Supernovas,
everything else. We've done literally everything else.
Yeah, we missed this one. Oops.
We just missed it. It's fine.
All right.
So this arc highlighted something for me as I was rereading it.
Yes, which is?
That first 6 issues of Supernovas is so good.
It really is.
It's so good. And my challenge, I think, with the back half of Supernovas or the rest of it is that immediately after the team comes together in that first arc, it is never all together again. And you never get the full team dynamic, starting with this arc right afterwards, where issue 1, Rogue gets kidnapped-ish.
Sure. Yeah, the team is split up. So who is the team again? Zach, what's our roster?
Okay, we've got Lady Mastermind, which is Reagan Wingard. We got Lady Mastermind. We got the Omega Sentinel. We've got Rogue. We got Iceman. We got Cannonball. We have Cable. Mm-hmm. We have Mystique. And you could call him a team member, but generally he is a guy that they drop from a plane. It's Sabretooth.
Yes. Does Sabretooth get launched out of a torpedo tube in this particular arc? Yes, he does.
Cable said he needed a bullet and he had a gun. So
That
I mean,
is
he
that
made
is
it
a
work.
great little moment here. I mean, the other thing that we have to note here is that we are going from the steady hand of one Mr. Chris Picciolo to Umberto Ramos, who is similar, I would say, but is not as detailed and is a little more cartoony in his representations of the characters. So I still liked the art here, but it's not hitting the highs of the arcs that come before and after this artistically for me.
Ramos is like a loose version of
Yes.
Ramos is a loose version of what Chris Picciolo is a tight version of, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to say because Chris Picciolo can be a very loose artist.
Yeah. They're in the
but
same
it feels right.
visual like spectrum.
Like they both like read Akira. It was like, oh yes, this is my personality now.
This arc centers around a character named Dr. Richard Palance, aka Pandemic, who it's retconned that Professor Xavier consulted with at the time that Rogue joined the X-Men to see if he could do anything to, I guess, work with her powers or something like that. And Pandemic's whole gimmick is that he has a virus that allows him to absorb anyone's superpowers, not temporarily, but permanently. So he is a tough opponent.
He has rogue powers, is the thing. That makes sense. But for some level, it makes sense to have Rogue go up against someone with rogue powers.
Sure.
You know? Like, I get it. Real sorry for Pandemic, but he's nothing.
Oh, you mean as a villain? Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have a great... He might have looked a little bit cooler if Chris had been drawing him, but as it stands, it's not a solid look. He kind of has like a half metal Phantom of the Opera mask and mane of black hair and just some stuff hanging off his body.
He's also very often drawn in shadow.
Yeah.
In a shadowy place, which means that you just don't get a lot of definition on him. He's more of a collection of shapes than he is like a full design. So that doesn't work as well.
No, he also uses I don't know what to call them. He sicks his plague dogs against the X-Men, and they're just kind of gross venom looking things, and they're fine. I don't know.
I've got nothing for Pandemic.
Yeah, what I will give Carey is that he does still maintain the tempo of like a good action movie here. And yes, especially in the third issue when things like really hit the fan, it is pretty fun. You know, they do the aforementioned thing where they've already been just like hiding Sabretooth in this like torpedo tube because he needs to be somewhere because he's uncontrollable. And then they shoot him out. And in a stroke of genius, which I did think was pretty great, is that the way they beat Pandemic is by Sabretooth attacking Pan and Pandemic absorbing Victor Creed's healing factor, which then heals the virus. So Pandemic doesn't have his powers anymore. And Reagan turns around and, puts him his like psyche in an eternal guinea pig maze. And there you go. Like, that's how they beat the villain. It's fun. I think it's good. I don't think it pales in comparison to the first arc.
It does.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, after this, Rogue's in a coma, which she will remain in until the end of this book. Well, not until the end. She'll come back and then be put almost immediately back into a coma.
It feels fillery to a certain extent.
Well, to a certain extent, it kind of is. They're doing. They know that they need to get primed and ready at this point for Messiah Complex. So like they're aware that that's what's coming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that's 6 months out that they have to or it's 6 months before they have to kick off the start of it. So they know they only have so much time to get this through. So it doesn't hit where it doesn't hit the heights of Supernovas, which sucks because I want everything to be as good and fun as Supernovas.
I do still think it's fun. I do still think each of these characters, last week we were talking about Hellions, and this does have a certain like feel towards that, like given that there are villains on the team.
It's an
Rogue
insane team of people that shouldn't be on a team. Yeah,
exactly. And Rogue is supposed to be reining in this group of misfits, but you're absolutely right that in this arc, now that the team is split up, and they're not all together, and they're, they really don't get together until the very end of this issue, and then Rogue gets taken out of commission. It lacks a little bit of cohesive force. It has a tempo.
And I think part of it is how they split the team, because essentially it's split. Rogue is on one squad with Mystique, Lady Mastermind, and Karima, the Omega Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
But Rogue's taken out immediately. So one team is all loose cannon villains.
Yep.
The other team is Cable, Cannonball, and Iceman, and also Sabretooth, who they drop on people.
Right.
So he's not really a character in so much as he is like weaponized cat claws.
Mm-hmm.
So they put all the straight-laced people in one thing. So you don't necessarily get the right dynamics bouncing off each other that you would want from what this team can be.
Yeah.
And I think that's I'm not against, it's a 9-person team. You're not going to have all of them doing the same thing all at the same time. But I think the chemistry could be mixed up in a different way to be a little more loose than you get in these issues.
I absolutely agree. I mean, even though they're splitting it, guys and gals, it doesn't quite work because
that's what they're doing. Oh, yeah. Okay.
But you do want kind of like a Cannonball there to be like, nah, y'all, we can't do that, or Cable being like, no, that's not the right way to do this. Like somebody who's a little bit more authoritative that's gonna
Cable having to try and. The idea of Cable having to try and rein in Mystique and Lady Mastermind.
Yeah, that's a better dynamic, right?
That's a better... Michael Carey, that's a better book. But yeah. I don't know what to tell you. That's a note you should have gotten.
I feel like we might be getting...
ideas. Filled with ideas.
I just want to be clear that I don't think this is bad. Like I enjoyed reading this. It's just, it suffers in comparison to the Supernovas arc and the Red Data that follows it. Red Data is coming in right now, I think at 352. And I don't think this is as high as that, unfortunately.
It's not as good as Red Data. It's not as good as Red Data. It's not as good as Blinded by the Light.
Where is Blinded by the Light?
I don't know. I was about to... Right? Yeah, that's at 177.
Yeah,
how does this compare to the annual? Because there is that annual where they have what's their names? Where they rescue
Mega Sentinel?
North Star and Aurora.
Oh, that
they rescue. Yeah, that's a 4 something. That is at. Hold on, this is really good content. I know we all love it.
I know, but it's hard to. It's hard to term search X-Men on our list, Zach.
Yeah, X-Men, and then also annual, and also number 1. That's just like that's data management. We did that to ourselves. I found it. It's in the 300s. That's at 379.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So are we at 400? We said is Bizarre Adventure 27. Is this better or worse than that?
Worse. I mean, because that has
I'm looking down the list.
It has a bad Iceman story, but those other 2 are bangers.
Yeah,
they're certified bangers.
411 is Rom Space Knight Hybrid 2. I would say that's better.
It's not as good as the first arc of the Legion X-Men Legacy. That's for sure.
It's probably like here, like in the. I think it's definitely above 450.
450 is.
The Sidrian Hunters and Starjammers issues of Uncanny, 154 to 157.
I don't know if we're that much. How do you feel about this compared to Dark X-Men? Another weirdo team.
I like this better.
I think this is probably better than Dark X-Men. It's probably better than Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance, though I I think I had more fun with Weapons of Vengeance, but that also, I think, hit my fun buttons a little bit more.
I don't think it's as good as at 444 God's Country, Colossus God's Country, or I don't think it's as good as at 445 X-Men 2099 Oasis.
Rest in peace, Hildebrandt. Rest in peace. Let's
Yeah.
make it 456.
446. All right. This is
446, excuse me.
No worries. This is X-Men Volume 2, 194 to 196, Primary Infection. And this last one is strange, Zach. This is Mike Carey does not write all of this. This is an anthology book called Manifest Destiny.
Yeah, it is. Now, should Marvel have probably not named it Manifest Destiny, given the what Manifest Destiny was? Yeah, probably not. But they were going to San Francisco, so there was only so many things that they were going to name this.
They went as far as to trademark Manifest Destiny. It says X-Men registered trademark, Manifest Destiny trademark. Like, wow, okay.
I mean, anyone can register a trademark. That's not very hard to do. I bet if you and I put out a comic right now, like we go rip out 20 pages like this, Adam, and we call it Manifest Destiny, they ain't coming after us. We've been
Probably
calling our podcast Out of the Atom for like 7 years, and Marvel has paid us. They ain't coming after us for nothing.
Well, here's what I will say. We get a wide variety of stories here, including some Akira Yoshida, not by that pen name.
So
some James Asmus, some Mike Carey. Who else is writing in
Scotty
here?
Young, Mark Guggenheim, Chris Yost, and then Frank Thierry, and a very early Kieran Gillen.
Oh, right.
For Marvel time. So there's a couple of things about this. Let's start with the through line throughout these 5 issues, which is a Mike Carey, Michael Ryan, Mystique and Iceman story, wrapping up everyone's favorite relationship from Supernovas.
Mike Carey, illustrated by Michael Ryan and inked by Victor Olazaba. Kill or cure, Zach?
So this is not a good
no,
story.
This is bad.
It's not well done. And I don't know what else to say besides it's not well done. It is deconstructing the Iceman Mystique relationship and what it was. And in 2008, that was a crack ship. In 2025, the year of our Lord, it's insane.
It is just mind-boggling that they paired these two very canonically gay characters.
Take the Iceman stuff out of it. Fine, take the Iceman stuff out of it. Take the fact that Mystique, has dated a lot of men out of it. They're still an insane couple that doesn't even make like a fire and ice sense to it. Like, I don't get the pick. I don't get it, Mike.
It makes zero sense. To start off Killer Cure, Mystique has been it seems for a while, because it does appear that they're living together. This is crazy that Mystique has been impersonating Opal Tanaka to the point where they've been in a relationship for a while.
All I could think about is, well, hold on. Canonically, Opal Tanaka and Bobby aren't on the best terms right now because Opal lied about having a kid with him. And then
I don't believe she even lives in the United States.
No, she lives in Japan, or lived in Japan. So I was getting mad for reasons that I know are insane. And then I was like, it's Mystique that got me. I should have trusted my continuity. I'm sure Mike Carey has also read Iceman Icons 3 times.
Oh boy. Basically what happens over the course of these 4 issues and these shorts is that Mystique is just keeps needling at Iceman. Iceman seems to be having some issues. He's feeling cold all the time, to the point where Mystique jabs him with some kind of poison or something. And Eventually,
That is her
like,
way of showing her love.
yeah, Iceman like completely melts and then reforms himself, and now he's a better Iceman for it. And then he has to stop her from blowing up the Golden Gate Bridge, something like that. It's
I
nonsense, Zach. It's nonsense.
It is nonsense. Iceman was created very explicitly to be the Human Torch of the X-Men, because we all have to understand, even if you don't want to admit it, the X-Men were created because Marvel wanted more Fantastic Four comics.
Sure.
That's why 60s X-Men is a bad Fantastic Four comic, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Iceman is just the Human Torch, and he suffers from the exact same problems that arguably every Human Torch story has ever suffered from, which is he's not growing up. Right. And he needs to become the man he's supposed to be and become mature and all of this stuff. And it's just like, man, it was tired in 1980.
Yeah, it completely falls flat here. It does not work. These characters have zero chemistry, and there's no tension whatsoever in this story. So it's pretty bad.
I don't know. Maybe he's going to reach his potential this time.
Sure.
Who knows?
Maybe.
He's going to be an Omega level mutant, Adam. He's going to really get there, and people are going to know why Iceman's the most powerful.
I guess. Not in this story. No, not here.
I mean, and not in any of the other ones. And I like Iceman. I want to be clear. I really enjoyed Bobby Drake when I was young, before I had like really got into X-Men. He was probably my second favorite character after Cyclops.
Okay. Wow.
No joke about that. No joke. But then I've read more X-Men comics. I'm like, if he had better stories.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't.
If he was just used better.
Talk about being used poorly. There is an absolutely dreadful Boom Boom short by James Asmus and Chris Byrne.
Okay. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
All right, it's just bad.
I would argue
that
what it is a bad Next Wave impression.
Oh, okay. All right.
But you have like this is 2008. Yeah, like they're doing Next Wave. Boom Boom.
It does have a good Next Wave joke where she's like, I was on Next Wave, and Hank McCoy is like, I don't know what that is. And I thought that was funny.
Very good. We as a comics community, for incredibly reasonable reasons, we all had to slow down on talking about how great Next Wave was all the time. Like we did, and we probably still do. Next Wave's still pretty, like Next Wave still hits. I'm sure there's some stuff that has never aged good. Next Wave still got a lot in it. At minimum, Stuart Immonen's drawn the heck out of that book. I chuckled at some of it. I did not chuckle at the C.B. Cebulski, David Yardin Karma story, where Karma is very understandably annoyed at some children and tries to use her mind control powers on them, and then feels trauma about it, but then goes over her entire backstory for the reader. That was boring.
Pretty surprising that C.B. Cebulski decided to write a story about an Asian character there.
Well, I mean, hey, Vietnam, not Japan. It's
okay. Yeah.
It's growth. We have Scotty Young's story.
Yeah, what'd you think of this one? It's Juggernaut trying to decide whether he should be a good guy or a bad guy and go to Utopia by holding a bar full of people hostage, I guess, to have this conversation. Dan Panosian does the art.
Dan Panosian's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Not the third best story about Juggernaut being in a bar.
No. It's okay.
Arguably not the second either.
I really wasn't buying into the dialogue of these like supposed hick characters that were there.
It doesn't land. There is an Emma Frost story that I have where everyone's mean to Emma. That one's not good. That's a Chris Yost story. There's a Mark Guggenheim story about Greymalkin, where like about how Greymalkin's origin and backstory, where he was hate crimed by his dad, where bizarrely they don't mention that Greymalkin is gay. They only imply it.
That was odd.
Very odd.
Strange. Yeah, that's like, not even just part of the story.
It is implied, but I honestly feel like if you did not know that Gray Malkin was a queer character, you would have to squint your eyes to see that in this particular story, and that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that
Like, it probably speaks more about 2008 than anything else.
Yeah, which is weird though, because like, didn't Mark Guggenheim like create Gray Malkin, or like
Yeah,
at
no,
least?
Mark Guggenheim. I don't think this is a Mark Guggenheim issue, is what I'm saying, and I'll blame Mark Guggenheim for a lot of things. It doesn't. It's just, if it's a choice, it's a weird choice to make, and I don't know when this was coming. Well, this would have been.
This is 08.
No, I'm trying to think of when it would have been published in
Chronology.
relation to Young X-Men, which started with Manifest Destiny, but wouldn't have gotten to the Gray Malkin stuff yet. So perhaps he was holding that back. But I don't. Then do a different story. I don't know what to. It's just a weird one.
Yeah. I will say, at the end of the third issue, there's a Chris Yost, Humberto Ramos Colossus story, which I kind of liked that one. I
thought that one was dreadful.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically everybody wants to cheer up Colossus by doing very stupid things, and like Colossus then has to stand up for himself and be like, "Yeah, I don't want to be cheered up," you know,
because Kitty's in a bullet. I guess part of it is how much credence do you take in everyone being sad about Kitty dying when this is a comic book?
I having just done, I mean, we're not far removed from that Christmas story that we did about Colossus needing to be cheered up because Kitty was in a bullet. And I thought this was a better take on that.
It was a better take on that specific beat. Why were they doing that beat so much?
I don't know. I don't know. And then in the fourth issue, Nightcrawler is also missing Kitty, James Asmuth, Takeshi Miyazawa. So he eventually makes Kitty appear in the Danger Room. I didn't hate that. That was fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just more everyone's sad about Kitty. There's a Mercury story by Sobalski that I don't recall, and I read that earlier today. So
it was not memorable. So if you're
there's one more issue.
Oh, right. What happens in 5?
There's a Frank Thierry Avalanche story, which is kind of nothing.
Oh,
but also the
Kieran Gillen, Sarah Pacelli Dazzler story was an odd bird. That was strange.
It is odd. That said, Kieran Gillen and Sarah Pacelli put out a comic today. It's an immediate bestseller. Like that's going to be the number one. This is Kieran Gillen's first proper Marvel Universe story, period. He had done work in one issue of New Universal 1959, and that is it.
Well,
I don't even know where this is with Gillen in terms of like Phonogram in some of his other stuff. I don't have all of Kieran Gillen's bibliography timeline memorized. I'm gonna be real, but this is early Gillen.
There's not a lot happening in this story, though. Unfortunately, it is. Dazzler has to go up against who is this? It's
Mountain Man Marco, the guy who's not Kane Marco.
Yeah,
but
different Marco.
It's Mountain Man Marco's just Mountain Man Marco needs to be retired because they already have a big, strong guy named Marco. It's just like that's what it is.
It's just another story where Dazzler is like wrestling with, well, do people remember me? Have people forgotten about me? And you can only read so many of these stories.
It's very first idea for the guy who wrote Phonogram to do. It is.
I will say the Pacelli art looks very nice.
Pacelli art's great. Listen, I can't say nothing about a Kieran Gillen, Sarah Pacelli. That's a knockout creative team, and it's at minimum interesting to see them so young.
Yeah, I can say that. I would say that this is not for your casual reader. This is not even that interesting. You really don't need to check this out.
Oh, this is also Sarah Pacelli's first Marvel work period.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay. Wow.
What a pairing right there.
I will say.
The one thing I'd say about this anthology,
Mhm.
Marvel tended to use these anthologies to try out a lot of talent for
True.
a while, at least when I was getting into comics.
Mhm.
This isn't really that. Besides the Gillen stuff, everyone here is a pretty established
Right.
creator for the most part. They're just
Mhm.
in the roster. And it feels weird to have them crap out forgettable nonsense stories.
Yeah.
Like, all of these guys are just the general good hand kind of writers that you would have around. So it's just, I don't get this one, man. I really don't.
It's quite blah, 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 blah. I'm looking down the list, and
What's the Utopia? What's the Utopia one with Rockslide and
I was thinking the
Anna
same thing, and I can't think of
because
what
it's worse
called.
than that.
It is worse than that. What is that called, though? X Patrol or something?
I'm finding it. 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 I'm finding
like
it. We're vamping.
superheroes.
Adam's gonna cut. So Nation X. Nation
That's
X.
what it was. Where is that?
So that was Nation X, which is at 434. Yeah, we're way
Oh, no,
lower
no,
than
no, no.
434.
I'm like in the 700s.
Oh wait, no, that's the wrong Nation X. There's multiple Nation X's.
Oh. Where's
Never
that?
mind, it's not called Nation X. I don't know what it's called. To protect and serve. Protect and serve. That's off
what
the
it
dome.
was. Where is that?
I don't know. That's it. That's it. Oh, that's a 388. Never mind.
Yeah,
We're
that's
way lower.
that's too high. That's too high. Because, like, I don't know.
This is
isn't
worse than
good.
Strong Guy Reborn, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That's at
Yeah.
707.
This is bad. I'm working my way down. I think this is worse than
Working my way
IVX at
downtown.
747.
Oh, but this is worse than Slingers number 9 at 809.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're in the 800s. I'm working my way down. This is worse than Dark X-Men The Confession at 842.
Yes.
Is
It
it
is.
worse than Days of Future Past Doomsday at 857?
Yes.
Yeah,
In terms of
it
Mark
is.
Guggenheim content, yes, it is.
Yeah,
It's just
it
like
is.
Mike Carey is normally a really solid writer. And listen, every once in a while, he'll drop a stinker.
Yeah.
Where is
I don't know
Secret Invasion X-Men, which is probably Mike Carey's biggest stinker
Yeah.
and probably arguably our worst episode of the podcast.
This isn't that. I don't think this is that bad. There's a couple things here that kind of save it. Like, I feel like we're on the same level as like X-Men Liberators at 905 in terms of quality, which is not saying much, but
yes, I would generally agree. Well, okay. Uncanny Avengers 1 through 5 is at 909, and I don't like Uncanny Avengers 1 through 5. Uncanny Avengers 1 through 5 is objectively a better comic than this one.
I am going to say then that we should put this at 910, which would put this one spot above that really bad Legion miniseries.
That Legion miniseries is really bad.
Okay,
let's do that. Hey, fun fact about that Secret Invasion X-Men in our Secret Invasion episode. I don't know if we once got feedback on that never use vocal effects that long again. Fair. 2, for the people who did listen, I don't know if people know that was actually a secret crossover that Steve Morris over at Shelf Dust was doing, where he was just he was doing a series on Secret Invasion, and then at the same time getting everyone he knows to also put out Secret Invasion based content at the same time and not say a single word. And that was 3.5 years ago. So I feel like we can let the secret out now because it would be impossible to even see what everyone was doing.
it was a very solid premise.
God bless Steve Morris, because no one in the realm of comics journalism has ever had so many good, terrible ideas as Steve has had. Because they're always so in-depth bits.
Mm-hmm.
And I love them every single time. Shelf Dust is a great site if you haven't gone and perused some of their stuff. I've done some work for them. I say work. I just wrote some stuff and I was like, Steve, you should publish this. This will be fun. But go check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Go check out everything else that's going on. Like, Adam, what do you got going on? What do you got going on that folks should check out?
I'm not actively reviewing anything right now. So, folks, you can just follow the further
Welcome
adventures.
to the club.
Yeah, you can follow the further adventures of Battle of the Atom via social media, AtomRec at Instagram and Blue Sky. Our thanks again to our Patreon patrons, including
Extremely Uncanny. You're thinking of
Extremely
Extremely
Uncanny.
Uncanny.
That's who it is. Thank you, Extremely Uncanny. And
Thank you, Extremely Uncanny.
Yeah. And Zach, what are we doing next week?
Here's the beautiful thing that we're doing next week, Adam.
We're
talking about that new song. You know, we're talking about Gimmick. Oh, we're talking about
what did you say?
We're talking about Gimmick.
I've been waiting a long time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, listen. So much love for Channing Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he look like that? Why did he... Channing Tatum has a blockhead. He does.
Yes.
He knows it. That's how he got so many roles. You cannot have facial buttresses with that. You look like an insane person when you do that. You can't do... Also, why was Gambit exploding people into blood and guts? That I don't love.
It's a Deadpool movie, Zach.
Also, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about that Deadpool movie until I forget that I've sworn off talking about it next week when I do another Gambit accent. Why did they make you feel like they had a bunch of cameos of people you remember from the Fox movies, but didn't get the actual actors from the Fox movies? That's freaking insane to me. You think I'm not going to notice that wasn't really Azazel? Or that wasn't Vinnie Jones as the Juggernaut? You either go all the way or you don't. Do not give me people pretending to be Vinnie Jones Juggernaut. Do not do that to me. Do not give me a fake Toad. There were 50 different people who played Toad. If you can't get Ray Park, get one of the other ones.
Wasn't that Ray Park?
No, none of them were. They got the guy who played Pyro. That's it.
Wow. You know who probably took him, Zach? The Thieves Guild.
The Thieves Guild. Oh, the Thieves Guild. We got that Unified Thieves Guild. Oh, man, I love it. I love Gambit so... I love Gambit the appropriate amount for a child.
We are going to get real deep into Gambit next week.
We got some real deep content on video. Yeah. Until then, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience. I can't wait to do a Gambit accent.
Get it!